In the IELTS Writing Band Descriptors, the word repetitive comes up a total of 7 times. And today I'm going to explain what that means in the various contexts that it's used so that you can avoid making those mistakes that result in lower IELTS writing band scores. My name is Lara Ryan. I've been an IELTS examiner, an IELTS teacher at the British Council. I've been helping students get their scores for over a decade, and I'm the founder of Complete Test Success. So first of all, let's look at the various places where you will find this word in the IELTS Writing Band Descriptors. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video. So the first 2 places that you will find this word is in Task 1, Task Achievement, for a Band 4 and a Band 3. In Task 2, for Task Achievement, for a Band 6 and a Band 4. In Coherence and Cohesion, for both Task 1 and Task 2. For bands 5 and 4, and finally for lexical resource in the band 4 band descriptor. Now it's the same word that's used in all of these places, but what it means is slightly different, so let's look at examples of each of these. So in the case of task 1, I'm just going to use this question as an example. We're not going to look at it in detail, we're more interested in using it to discover what repetitive means in this context. So for Task Achievement Band 4, it says that parts may be repetitive, and for Band 3, it says presents limited ideas which may largely be repetitive. Now, both of these descriptions are referring to the same thing, but with the Band 4, it's happening a bit, and with a Band 3, it's happening a lot. So let me show you an example of what that would look like. In 2000, the soft beverages industry brought in the most revenue with $25 billion. As well as the soft beverages industry bringing in the highest revenue of $25 billion in 2000, information services also had the same figure in 2000, so it too had the highest figure because it had the same figure of $25 billion. So if we look at these highlighted bits, you can see this is all information we've been given before. As well as the soft beverages industry, that was in the previous sentence, bringing in the highest revenue of $25 billion, that was in the previous sentence. In 2000, that was in the previous sentence. And as we continue, we see in 2000 again, and continue. So it too had the highest figure because it had the same figure of $25 billion. Now, this might seem exaggerated, but in certain contexts, when the vocabulary and the grammar would not be as clear, this is exactly what we would see to result in a Band 4 or a Band 3 in Task Achievement for Task 1 writing. Next, let's look at Task Achievement for Task 2. So I'm going to use this question to explain the point. In the modern world, it's important for individuals to know how to manage their personal finances well. Some argue that this skill should be taught in school. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So for Task Achievement of 4 in Task 2, it says presents some main ideas, but these may be repetitive. So essentially what that means is that the candidate will have what they think is 2 main ideas, but really it's 1 main idea described from different perspectives or described with different vocabulary. So let me show you an example of that. I completely agree because it will make sure that people don't get into debt, and they won't need to worry about repaying any money they've borrowed. So of course, people only need to repay money if they've got into debt. So these are actually the same idea, just from different perspectives and with different vocab. Then for a task achievement of Band 6 in Task 2, it says conclusions may become repetitive. So when they say conclusions in this context, they're talking about the way that the ideas are explained, rather than the final paragraph in the essay, which is also referred to as the conclusion. So let me show you with this example. If children learn to manage their personal finances when at school, this will mean that they are less likely to get into debt when they are adults. That is to say that many people nowadays get into debt because they don't know how to manage their personal finances, but if they had learned how to do this skill at school, they wouldn't have needed to borrow money. So what you see this candidate doing is they have really just 2 ideas, borrowing money and not needing to do it if you study personal finances at school. So They're just rejuggling these same 2 points over and over again, and really the conclusions that are drawn are pretty much nothing and therefore repetitive. We're looking at coherence and cohesion next, but first make sure to click on the link in the video description to sign up for my free live feedback lessons. I have those on Zoom every single week. So for coherence and cohesion, this is relevant to both task 1 and task 2. So we'll just look at it in the context of this task 2 question again. Coherence and cohesion band 5 says, may be repetitive because of lack of referencing and substitution. So my example for this is, for example, my cousin isn't good with money, so my cousin borrowed some money from the bank, and now my cousin still needs to give the money back to the bank. So in English, we're not just going to say my cousin, my cousin, my cousin over and over again. We will use a pronoun her or he instead of repeating the full noun every time. But it's not just with my cousin, it's also with the money and the bank. We can replace these with pronouns, and when we can, we should. For coherence and cohesion band 4, and again this is for task 1 and task 2, it says uses some basic cohesive devices, but these may be repetitive. So an example of this would be, for example, my cousin didn't have enough money, and then he borrowed some from the bank, and then he lost his job, and then when the bank wanted the money back, he didn't have enough. So this kind of repetitive use of cohesive devices like and then, and then, and then is not enough to get a good score. Even if you're using them accurately, the repetitiveness stops you from getting a higher score, which I assume you do need. Finally, we're looking at lexical resource, and for a band 4, it says uses only basic vocabulary which may be used repetitively. And my example here is, if people can't use their personal finances well, they will not have money. If they do not have money, their personal finances will not be good. Now here you can see personal finances comes from the question, so the student isn't going to get any recognition for this being good vocabulary. So really the vocabulary that they are bringing to this is very limited, and it's also being used repetitively. So you can see there how important it is to avoid being repetitive, but on the other side, you need to make sure that you're accurate. So just using a massively wide range of, let's say, cohesive devices is not the solution to a high score. You need to use them when appropriate, and you need to use them accurately. So don't use this lesson to inspire you to just go wild and use every single word you know. Aim for clarity more than anything else. If you have any questions about IELTS writing, feel free to reach out. You can ask me in the comments below.